Welcome to Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. I'm Kevin Parkerson.
And I'm Kevin Higgins. Together we bring you over 60 years in combined experience in global logistics.
In each episode, we'll dive into the latest industry trends, share practical tips, celebrate wins, and share stories from the logistics front lines, all while helping businesses optimize their logistics operations. Today on Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics, as part of our Empowered Logistics Navigating the Future Through People series, we're thrilled to welcome Amy Barnes, a powerhouse in supply chain world and a true champion for heart-based leadership. Amy is the founder and chief heart officer of 11B Consulting, a company dedicated to helping businesses and individuals succeed with purpose, integrity, and results. With extensive real-world experience, Amy has held executive roles across supply chain and sales leadership in multi-billion-dollar organizations. She's navigated the complexities of private equity, led change management initiatives, and successfully managed 7 acquisitions in just 6 years. Wow. Her impressive portfolio includes overseeing $600 million in global logistics operations, spanning 60 manufacturing sites, and 40 3PL warehouses.
Amy is a 2-time recipient of Supply and Demand Chain Executives Women in Supply Chain Award. She's a mentor, a motivator, and a passionate advocate for those who need someone in their corner. After exiting her senior leadership role at Interstate Batteries in 2023, Amy took a leap of faith to go all in on 11B Consulting, where she's building businesses, empowering leaders, and inspiring communities. Get ready to hear from one of the brightest minds in logistics and a leader with a heart as big as her achievements. Welcome to the podcast, Amy Barnes. Here we come.
Hey. Thank you so much.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was a great introduction.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're still standing. You know, after all of that you're upright and that you're functioning and all. Wow, that's really important.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate being here. Thanks for asking me on.
Absolutely. Well, let's get the audience to know a little bit more about Amy Barnes. Tell us a little bit about your career journey and what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a curvy road. It definitely isn't linear. Started out as an administrative assistant many years ago in the logistics space, but working for some logistics managers while I was finishing up college. I had a couple of small children at home and was learning the ropes of supply chain. And a couple of years into that gig was part of a mass layoff. So I experienced that early in my career. They moved our logistics center from North Carolina, where I was working, up into the Northeast. And that threw me or gave me the opportunity to move into reverse logistics, where I spent about 15 years in all things reverse logistics, which is a fascinating area of the supply chain that a lot of people don't know a lot about, but it is amazing. And that taught me so much about supply chain in general. So I had an opportunity to spend some time working for a few 3PLs. I've been in sales. I've been in sales leadership the last 10 years or so. Primarily have been back on the shipper side, leading transportation for a couple of big global multi-billion-dollar companies. That led me to where I am now. As you mentioned in the intro, I was working for a great company. Interstate Batteries was a great organization. Spent a couple of years with them, but just needed to pivot in 2023. For a couple of different reasons and started 11B Consulting full time. So I'd been building that in the background for a while, just knowing that my heart aspired to do something on my own. And so I'm not a great sleeper. So early mornings, late nights, weekends for a couple of years, I had been building 11B in the background and just picked 2023 as the time to pivot. So now I'm working with people, individuals, teams, and companies to help with logistics strategies primarily, but I'm also doing a lot of people development and encouragement, leadership development, that type of thing as well.
So what does 11B stand for?
Oh, I love that you asked that. A lot of people ask
Right?
that question. So, yeah, I love it. 11 is a number that's really special in my family for a lot of different reasons. My birthday happens to be on the 11th of the month. My son's birthday is on the 11th of the month. My daughter's birthday is on the 11th of the
What?
month. If you take our street address, the numbers, and add them up, they all add up to
Like
11.
cow.
We would go on vacation as a family throughout our life, and we would be in room number whatever 11, and 11 is just a number that has consistently come up. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter who's amazing, and so I'm enjoying that phase of life. But she was born on a day when you take all of the numbers and
No
add them up,
way.
Holy
it
cow.
equals
No
11.
way.
Yeah, no joke, no joke. It's so, and I didn't realize that until she was probably 3 or 4 days old, and I wrote her birth date down on a Post-it note, and then I added it up, and I just couldn't believe it. So I took a picture of it, sent it to my son, which is it's his daughter, and so it's just a special number for our
Wow.
Well,
family. And then the B is just simply represents barns, so it's 11B is for my family.
that
Wow.
is awesome.
That is
Well, if
cool.
I had known that, and I should have known that, you would have recorded this on November 11th. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
11,
maybe
11.
it's
Yeah.
episode
right?
11.
Wait,
Is this
what?
is this episode 11? Maybe,
No,
maybe.
I don't think
No.
it is.
It's,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. If we had stayed with our original schedule, maybe we could have done that. That's
it would have
awesome.
been.
Nah, that's
Well,
okay. But the number comes up all the time
I'm
still,
sure it
almost
does.
every week.
Well, I
Yeah.
have a little bit of somewhat of a similarity. I got married on 2/22/92. I was 22. My wife was 22. We have 2 daughters and we have 2 dogs. So the number 2 and
Oh my.
22 is everywhere throughout my life. So my number is 22. So I should have done KP22 consulting or something like that. I
That's
love the
it.
11. I love that story. That's
That is cool.
Well, 22 is double 11,
right
so there's something
there.
there, Kevin.
Wow.
That's wild.
There's something there, yeah, for us. That's cool.
Well, it's just
I,
like with anything. If you look for it, you kind of find it. And I've done that. We stayed at hotel room numbers 22, and I've had 22 come up, my wife and I, multiple times through our life. And it's definitely our lucky number. So, Higgins, do you have a number at all?
I got nothing.
No. Do you know number? Yeah, okay.
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
That's
That's awesome.
funny.
Well, that's a great story, and it's a great story to tell as you build your business and all. But maybe talk to us a little bit of what inspired you to transition from corporate leadership to starting 11B.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been for years had really been hopeful to do my own thing for a lot of different reasons. I just remember looking out an airplane window many, many, many times, thinking, what could I do? And 2023 for me, about 16 months ago, was just a pivotal year for a lot of different reasons. And I am very blessed to still have my parents, but I desired more time with them. And my mother has progressive multiple sclerosis. And 23, she's had it for 25 years, but 23, she just began to get a lot worse and things were progressing more. She was falling a lot and I was gone a lot. So I was doing important work and I was very proud of that work, but I didn't feel good about how I was spending my time. And just it was the opportunity, and timing wise, my husband and I went on a vacation to St. Lucia in July of 23. It was our 35th wedding anniversary. And we did an excursion one day, and there was a local, her name was Lulu. She doesn't know she impacted me like this, but she
We
did.
invite Lulu.
So she
We'll
was the
have
tour.
Lulu as a guest.
She
We'll
was
find
the,
Lulu.
We got to find her.
okay,
Yeah.
she was amazing. She was a tour guide and just loved her work so much. And she was going around the tour bus saying, like, what do you do? What do you do? And she got to me, and I told her what I did. And I said, I'm on a lot of I'm on a lot of calls. I have to fly around and do all this stuff. And she just went, ooh, like, and I thought, she loves her work. I don't feel that passionate about what I'm doing right now. And so my husband and I just had a conversation and said, now's a good time. I want to spend more time with my parents. And So the key driver for me was availability to be there for my mom, and that's proven to be a good decision. She's continued to fall and has had the last month or so has been really difficult for her from a fall standpoint. So that was the driver, just to be able to be more available for my family and not to be gone when I needed to be home.
Wow. You're a good daughter. Good for you.
She was a
Wow.
good mom, and I won't ever get this time back. I can always go find another job. I can always work. I can't always get this time back with my parents. So, but my business is thriving and things are going well. So it was the right decision. It was the right
That's
decision.
great. That's great.
That's
So,
that's the absolute best. Can you guys hear me okay?
yeah, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's just the best reason to do your own thing right there. It's just perfect.
Yeah, yeah, it's just been amazing. I've had really great moments with my parents since then, and learning to garden from my mom. That's one of the objectives I have for this year. She's taught me a lot of things. In the summer that I was home last year was really, really important for me, and we're going to continue to do that this year. But yes, that was the main
That's
driver
awesome.
was my family.
That's great. Well, that kind of
Thank
leads to
you.
like kind of the next question. I see, in a lot of your marketing material and, even in your bio, the introduction, it's heart based. So, what does heart based leadership mean to you? And how do you apply that in what you're doing today in your work?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, leaders are supposed to care for the people that they're leading, and for me, leadership has always come from the heart. And I think there's historically been a perception that you can't care for people but also be a strong leader and effective, and I think that's incorrect. I think you have to start with caring about people, and then everything else falls into place. I'm not saying that every person is in the right role, but it is a leader's job to care for them first. So, heart-based leadership for me means there's a representation for every letter in the word heart, and this is how I teach people, and this is how I lead. But first, we should harness people's expertise and like what their skills are, and really leverage that. I think often in leadership, there's a broad stroke approach to people, and we can't often get to the skills and the special talents of the individual that way. So I think you have to first start with harnessing their skills, individual skills and expertise, and then you empower them by given the tools that they need to be effective, by blocking and tackling, by supporting, by encouraging. But that is the second part of a leader's responsibility. They have to harness the skills of the individual and then empower them to do the work. And then they have to make sure the
Mm.
team is aligned with the objectives. So that's the A of heart. And then there's reflection and recognition that has to happen. You have to reflect on what's working, reflect on what's not working, recognize things that are going well, and then the transformation comes. That's the T of
Mm.
heart, is you transform folks by starting with your heart and caring for them first. And so I'm a firm believer that people can see through leadership that's not based on caring for others. And I've certainly had my fair share of those in my career, which candidly is what pushed me into being more heart based and more vocal
Hmm.
about it. I haven't always had the benefit of having those types of leadership examples. And so this is the way that I've led, and it's been effective historically. And this is what I bring into teams and organizations that I work with now.
That's really, really good. I hope the
Wow.
audience digest all of that. If they need to, they can rewind and play that back, and listen to that. But Amy, that was really, really good. And it
Thank
resonates with,
you.
people like myself that have been in, and Kevin, I'm sure as well,
Yeah,
that have been in
absolutely.
corporate America, that have been in it for as long as we have. And, we've had some great leaders, and I want to talk a little bit about that, how you were influenced by some of those great leaders. And then we've had some that weren't not so. And we learn from both, right? So, and I can
Absolutely.
tell that you
Absolutely.
definitely have, but maybe share with the audience, some of the, what you've learned and who you are today. A lot is because of your mom and dad, obviously, but your leaders in corporate America, the ones that that stand out. When I start talking about this, who just came into your mind of someone and what did they do? to help you? Because I want the audience to hear, and I want the leaders to hear, the impact that they can have and what to do actually.
Yeah.
Well, the impact, yeah,
Yeah. No,
the impact that they will have one way or the other, but how to make it the best, the most positive impact that they can.
Right.
absolutely. I think a lot of times, my experience, I'll just say my experience has been a lot of leaders want to talk before they listen. And that is difficult because there's a lot of knowledge in the troops if leaders would listen a little bit more. And so I had a couple of leaders in my career who believed in me and saw more potential than what I was doing, but listened to what I wanted to ultimately do. It wasn't I've had plenty of leaders that were like, no, just keep doing what you're doing. I've literally quit jobs because I had leaders that said, keep doing what you're doing when I was asking and hungry to learn and hungry for more. And those stand out for a completely different reason. But for the ones that said, tell me more, like I want to understand this a little bit more, it became about what I needed as opposed to goals and objectives of the organization, which are important. When we're employed, that's important that we're supporting those things, but it can't be at the expense of our own. And so the leaders that stand out to me from a positive standpoint are the ones who asked what I needed, asked what I aspired to be even 10, 15 years down the road, so that this one specifically could position me in different experiences so I would be more well-rounded. So listen before talking, I think, is what I would suggest for a lot.
That's hard to do, and especially I know early in my career, I didn't do a very good job at that. And it's a skill that you have to fine tune and have good leaders that can help you do exactly that. But that's really good.
Well, I think a lot of times, in the last year, the conversations that I've had with folks have kind of reinforced this as well. But I think a lot of times people believe I'm a leader, I'm supposed to tell people what to do, and I'm supposed to know all the things. Well, you don't know all the things. You're never going to know all the things. But I look at leadership as being a professional caretaker of people. And it isn't, the numbers will happen. And yes, as a leader, I had a lot of financial responsibility, and I was always dialed in on my numbers and knew them, but I was dialed in on the people first. And my numbers always happened because I was dialed in on the people. And that's, I was told many times that you just care too much. You care too much for your team. That's not possible. Yeah. I don't believe that's possible.
Can you care too much? I mean,
no. And to me, that was the rub that I always had with some of the corporate leadership styles, is that, these are the people that are making you the money. Like, we should care for them. And so that, that's my personal philosophy. There goes the dog.
Well, we'll have to find out the dog's name. It's probably 11, I need to ask her if she's Stranger Things, if 11. Yeah, if
that
there's
makes
any
perfect sense. Yeah.
there. If she tells me that's her niece or something, I'm going to freak out.
Oh my gosh. Millie Bobby Brown is her niece.
Yes. Okay, when she comes back, we'll ask.
Yeah.
Okay, Amy,
Sorry
I got
about that.
something. Is the dog's name 11 by chance?
No, they're not. She has. So, are we still recording?
We're still recording. That's
Yeah, we'll edit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter is in supply chain now, coming up on 4 years, but she was a police officer before that, and which was incredibly stressful. That's a whole other segment. But one of these dogs was a dog that was picked up as a stray who was allegedly calm and quiet, but she was exhausted. Like, she was a stray and she had been running. She's not calm and quiet. She's the one I worried about for this episode today, but it's all good. It's all good. She's great.
No worries. We're going to edit all this out and we'll pick it right back up. Okay. I told Kevin when you stepped away, I said, just leave the dog bark in there just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
That's so much. I knew it would happen. So I appreciate your grace.
No worries. Hey, but also I got to thinking on the 11, Are you a Stranger Things fan by any means? Do you watch the show on Netflix?
No, but I've been told I need to.
There's a character named
11.
And I was like, okay, now you're going to tell me you're related to the actress that plays 11. That would really,
Ooh,
really freak me out. But yeah, you
that
need to
is
watch it.
funny.
It's if you're into sci-fi and 80s, it's kind of cool. But
I'll
then
check it
don't
out.
do it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Let's Higgins. How do we need to jump back in so that
Just
they help?
just jump back in, man.
Just jump back in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you've mentioned, Amy, you've mentioned a couple of times, and even in your bio, about mentorship. Maybe talk a little bit about mentorship and how it has been a part of your career. And more importantly, as you talk to young professionals, what skills do you focus on developing, in regards to mentorship?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So that topic is really special to me because I did not have that as I was coming up through the supply chain industry. And it was always something I desired, but I figured a lot of things out on my own, but it was really difficult. And being a woman in logistics and warehousing at times was really, really
Hmm.
challenging. And that's really changed a lot over the last several years. But as I was coming up through my career, I just didn't have that. And it felt a little bit isolating at times trying to figure out how to get through things. So when I got into leadership roles, I have a special affinity for people that are entering their careers because it's scary and it can be confusing and there's a lot of things to learn. So I tried to start partnering up with folks as they were entering the organization, just to say, are you comfortable? Do you know like what to do and all of that? And it just led to really great conversations. And so mentorship for me has become part of just what I naturally do. And I think it's important in our space more than ever. It's busy in logistics, right? But I just think it's more important in our space than ever to pass along the knowledge that I've gained over the 30 years that I've kind of clawed my way through roles and make it a little bit easier for this next generation and pass that knowledge. I've learned a lot. It would be a shame not to use that and pass that on to folks. That's my passion about mentorship. I feel like I have a little bit of an obligation to help others and share some of that knowledge of my journey if it makes theirs a little bit easier. So that's my whole passion about mentorship. I didn't have that. I want others to have an experience that might be a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Everybody needs that. So what do you, Amy, tell me about, 11B, somebody comes to you, typically what are they looking for and what is your program that you might, I'm sure they're all customized based on where they're at in their career, but tell us how, kind of from beginning, how it works when somebody comes to you.
Yeah, I first want to know someone's like, what's your goal? What is it that you want to do? And then if they understand themselves, how are they valued? And then we just kind of go from there. I really dig into foundationally helping people understand defining, writing down their values. A lot of people have never been
Mm-hmm.
through that exercise. And a lot of folks are so accustomed to just, they can spit out what their company or their employer's objectives are, but they have a really difficult time articulating what they want. And so we really start with the basics of what's important to you, where are your values, what is it that you want to accomplish, what do you want your legacy to
Mm-hmm.
be, and then we build from there. And most of the time, it's a confidence building situation for people. It could be someone that wants to get to the next level. It could be someone that wants to pivot into something else. It could be a trucking owner, agency owner who has concerns about revenue growth and wants to understand if they are the problem. So I've had a lot of different scenarios, but it really starts with understanding the foundation of the person. How are they wired? What are their values? And what is it they want to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish? And then we figure out how to put together something to support that individual need.
Right. Are you primarily focused still in the transportation and logistics arena, or are you, outside of that now into other industries?
It's been amazing to see this kind of evolve, but it is beyond logistics at this point. I've had clients who've been attorneys. I've had clients who've been educators trying to pivot and just understand themselves differently and want to move into maybe project management or things like that. So it's been primarily logistics, but it has started to creep outside of logistics because uh, heart-based leadership, caring for people, it's industry
Right.
agnostic. What I believe in and how I support people. I just happened to work in logistics and have a lot of responsibility there for a lot of years. But what I do and the way I operate is really industry agnostic.
No, I
Interesting.
love it. That's great.
Well, one of the topics that Kevin and I always somehow, bring up on every episode is relationship development and building. He and I are
Yep.
very, very adamant about how important that is,
Hmm.
not just in supply chain, but corporate America. Talk to us a little
Yeah.
bit about, in regards to building relationships, networking. I think I've seen you and others,
Yeah.
mention um, people find networking uncomfortable or even icky sometimes. So,
Yes.
what are some actionable tips that you would share to help others overcome that mindset?
Yeah, it is amazing. I've had so many conversations with people who are terrified of networking, or they just don't know how to do it, or they're very uncomfortable. And I always remind people that the other person's just another person. It's just another person doing a job. I think it's the approach that people are usually confused on how to go about that. But relationship building for me has been game changer in being able to pivot into my own business. I've always been a relationship builder. I've been a LinkedIn person since before it became like a popular thing to do the last couple of years. I've been on LinkedIn for many, many years. And I've always made intentional effort to reach out to maybe one or two people a month that I'm connected with that I don't really know that well, just to say, I don't know you that well. Can we get to know each other a bit? Not selling you anything. I just kind of want to know what it is that you do and where your focus is. And in my business, that's been super helpful to have those resources. I'm working on a project right now with someone. It's a significant project that's going to last for a while, but we met via
Wow.
networking because a friend of mine said you two would work really well together. We had networking calls and now we're engaged on business together. And so it's people have to get outside their comfort zones because that's when the muscles grow. I always use sports analogies a lot. And with networking, I tell people that it's kind of like lifting weights. You're not going to get a single muscle if you just stare at it on the ground. And networking is picking up the weights. It's just little weights, and then you can go to the bigger weights. But that it builds your confidence too when you pick up the
Hmm.
weight and see the muscle starting to grow. And I've facilitated networking calls for some younger professionals because they just don't know how to do it. And so the networking guide, I wrote a networking guide and published it last year because that was such a need. And I felt like I was saying the same things over and over to people and sending this resource to this person separately to this person. And I'm a data person. And so I started looking at all of the data that I was keeping on all of these discussions I was having, and the common denominators were the same. So that led me to write that networking book to help people. And that's been an effective tool for people who are just uncomfortable. A lot of people are just really, really uncomfortable having intro conversations with people they don't know. So, my introvert clients specifically have said that they are very, very pleased to have a resource to help them figure out how to approach networking. So that's been great feedback that I've gotten so far. It's been a confidence builder for people.
So
Yeah,
you've written the book.
I love the gym, analogy because it is as somebody who doesn't want to go to the gym a lot. It's uncomfortable to go to a networking event when you are either an introvert, a borderline introvert, or you're just
Yes.
tired, or one of the two. And so it's like going to the gym as well. And I think that's KP and I are challenging each other to get out and do more of that, and to meet more people. We actually have a networking event that we host once a month as well, to try to bring people in. But I'm glad that you have that focus because it's a huge component of
It
building and
is.
starting and building relationships.
It is. It's huge. I just from networking, it's amazing. I'm doing business and talking to people on a regular basis that I met 10, 15
Mm-hmm.
years ago. And it's all relationship building and how you
Yeah.
nurture that. So I tell folks it can be intimidating, but just set a small goal. Just tell yourself, I'm gonna meet two new people this month or one, whatever it is. And then when you hit that goal, celebrate it. Like if you do what you said you're going to do,
Yeah.
celebrate that. And it doesn't have to be 10 or 15 people a month. One person, that's 12 new people
Small
a year.
steps.
That's a
Yep.
lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned you've written a book, networking or whatever. You also have a couple of coloring books as well, right?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
That was a creative outlet. When I the first day I didn't have a job when I left my role working for corporate America. The very first week, I didn't want to box myself in, and I had a lot of creative energy that I felt like I just didn't have the bandwidth to explore for the longest time while I was running all over the country, doing supply chain stuff. So I always wanted to create coloring books, and I still have a few others that I'll publish this year that I haven't released yet. But yeah, that first couple of weeks that I was out, I think I had 5 or 6 that I published on Amazon. So one of them is about trucks and trains and all the vroom things. So I did one on
I love
transportation.
that. I need that.
I actually have both of them, and the reason I do,
That's
which will get
awesome.
us to the next one, I've purchased those. But you've recently been a big part of. You're very very involved in your community, and with the recent floodings
Yes.
that occurred in the area that you're in of the country, you were heavily involved in that part of it. And I know you made that as a fundraiser, and that's why I have
Yes.
2 of those coloring books.
Thank you.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
but maybe talk to the audience a little bit about the work that you're doing there, and then also the armed prison outreach program that you're involved in as well.
Thank you for asking about those things. They're really, really important to me. So the Western North Carolina, I'm only a couple of hours from where a lot of that
Mm.
destruction happened from the hurricane, and know a lot of people that were impacted. And so just such a helpless feeling, wanting to do anything that you can to help. And so I did throw out the offer to folks to use those coloring book profits to help people. And we've done that, bought supplies and sent things. My husband, he also, it's a different story, but he quit corporate America before
Oh,
me,
our next
and we
guest,
started a
Kevin.
dump. Yeah, we started a dump
Oh,
truck business
nice.
together, and so yeah, so we're bootstrapping 2 businesses at the
Is it
same
named
time. But
11?
the it is not. No, no.
Okay, leave it alone.
But he's been for the last 2 months has been working in Western North Carolina, helping to support gravel in areas where people's roads were
Mm.
completely washed away, disconnected them from being able to even go
Right.
anywhere. So he's been actively working in the destruction area for a couple of months now, which is just rewarding work. It feels way better than just hauling gravel to any other site. So we're really pleased to be able to actively via both our companies have some involvement there. We will likely go back and volunteer. I had the benefit of through Samaritan's Purse Ministries. I spent a day with a group in one of the impacted areas, and it's amazing when you see it firsthand. It's hard to put into words. I'd never been in an area with that type of destruction. I truly felt like I was driving through a war zone. I was driving my car on the side of a road that the it had gone. It was gone.
Wow.
The road was gone. So it was a reality checker to be that close and be able to see it. So I'm really grateful that we're able to support those ways. The armed prison ministry. So I've served on the missions team at my church for a number of years. I'm very supportive and love mission work as one of my passion areas. So last year we were able to, via a road trip with a small group, we visited the Armed Prison Ministries, which is a great organization that helps to support baptistries in prisons and also provides greeting cards to prisoners so they can stay in touch with their family members. So they're able to earn things like birthday cards or holiday cards that the prisoners could then use to send back home to their families. And so we worked in the card sorting area the day that I was there, where we sorted cards that would ultimately go into the prisons for inmates to use for their families. So those things are meaningful to me, and I just appreciate being able to spend time supporting.
Thanks for your
That's
work
awesome.
that you're doing.
Yeah, no kidding.
You and your husband both
Thank
for
you.
the work.
Thank you.
That's really, really good.
Grateful to do it.
Well, listen, one of the last few questions, I'd love to get kind of your perspective on how do you see the leadership in logistics evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Great question.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Man,
Crystal
if I had
crystal ball.
magic, let's look at. I really believe mentorship is going to have to come into the mix at some point, right? It's a fast-paced environment, and things are changing all of the time. And so I think it's going to be really critical to formalize the way that the next generation is being led and taught. So that to me is really, really important. And then you're going to have leaders that are going to be coming up that are heart-based, which I think is really, really critical. So mentorship and incorporating mentorship in logistics, I think is going to be critical to get that next level leaders leading all of the things that we've got coming up in logistics in the right way. So mentorship programs, feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so you can edit this out if you want to. But yeah, mentorship is a big one for me in logistics, and it typically doesn't happen because logistics is such a numbers game. It is such a numbers game. So the fast pace of the logistics space, it makes it really difficult for leaders to take the time that they need to develop people. So that's the way I see it.
Amy, just to tag on to the end of that question, because KP and I are incredibly, I guess, interested and focused on the next generation of people coming up into logistics in our industry anyway. If you could give advice to, high school students, college students, or somebody who's considering a career in transportation and logistics, what would you say to them today?
Would you tell them to consider a career in supply chain?
Yeah, start there.
I love supply chain. I really do. I think supply chain offers so many options from a career standpoint. But I would encourage people not to box themselves in and to have a learning mindset that they are learning all aspects of supply chain. So yes, I would encourage people to pursue it. I would say that they need to have very thick skin and not personalize feedback, because they're going to need the feedback to grow. But absolutely, I would encourage people to pursue the profession. I love it when young professionals come to me and say, I'm considering a career in supply chain. I love that because I got my career start in supply chain at Nabisco Foods, watching A1 steak sauce move around the country. And I was fascinated with that process. So I think it's a fabulous career. We're always going to need trucks. They're always going to need to move things from point A to point B. It's a career that's stable. It's never going away. Never going away. So supply chain, yes, I would absolutely encourage people in the supply chain space. I think they just need to be open to feedback. They need to be patient for the growth process to happen, and be open to learning all aspects of it instead of boxing themselves into one area.
I love it. Yeah, great advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, Amy, this has been really good. We'd love to have you back. I think we just scratched the surface. I know there's a lot of good nugget of information, that the audience will get from this. I love the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're a bright spot on LinkedIn. You're a bright spot in supply chain. Don't stop doing what you're doing. How can people reach out to you and get connected with you?
They can, LinkedIn is always a great place to start. You can connect with me or send a message, or my email address is amy@11bconsulting.com. 11's all spelled out. So amy@11bconsulting.com. Happy to connect with folks. I really love the people aspect of my work. So yeah, I would love to connect with anybody.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Thank you, Amy. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much.
thanks for tuning in to this episode of Kev Talks Real World Global Logistics. A huge thank you to Amy for sharing her insights and expertise. Remember, logistics isn't just about moving goods. It's about creating connections, solving challenges that shape the world. Until next time, I'm Kevin Parkerson. He's Kevin Higgins. Encourage you to keep thinking globally and acting strategically. See you at the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.